Rasputin is best known for his role as a mystic advisor in the court of Tsar Nicholas II of Russia. After failing to become a monk, Gregori Yefimovich Rasputin became a wanderer and eventually entered the court of Tsar Nicholas II because of his Ali's healing abilities. Known for his prophetic power, he became a favorite of the Nicholas' wife, Alexandra, but his political influence was minor. Rasputin became swept up in the events of the Russian Revolution and met a brutal death at the hands of assassin in 1916. Born to a Siberian peasant family around 1869, Rasputin received little schooling and probably never learned to read or write. In his early years, some people of his village said he possessed supernatural powers, while others cite examples of extreme cruelty. Rasputin meant where two rivers meet, a phrase that described an area near where he was born in Siberia. Rasputin entered the Verkhoturye monastery in Russia with the intention of becoming a monk, but left shortly thereafter, presumably to get married. At age 19, he wed Praskovia Fedorovna, and they later had 3 children, and 2 others died shortly after birth. In 1897, after 10 years of marriage, at the age of 28, Rasputin went on a pilgrimage to the St. Nicholas Monastery at Verkhoturye, some 300 miles from his home village. Rasputin went on a pilgrimage in 1897. He visited various towns and churches and discovered the Klist sect. One of the many beliefs of the Klist was that it was only by committing sins and repenting that one could get close to God. There, it appears he had some kind of religious awakening and returned a changed man. Additionally, following his awakening, Rasputin traveled all around the Russian Empire, declaring himself a holy man with supernatural abilities such as healing. He progressively developed a reputation as a mystic and declared himself a holy man. In 1903, Rasputin's wandering brought him to St. Petersburg, where he arrived with a reputation as a mystic and faith healer. 2 years later, he was introduced to Russian Tsar Nicholas II and his wife Alexandra, who were seeking help for their sickly son Alexis. Rasputin was called in to pray for Tsar's son Alexei, who had hemophilia and was suffering from an internal hemorrhage. The morning after Rasputin spent time with Alexei, the family was stunned. Prince Alexei made a miraculously recovery. Queen Alexandra immediately believed that Rasputin had immense healing powers. As an enthusiastic mystic, this marked the beginning of Alexandra's dark obsession with Rasputin. Rasputin quickly gained their confidence by seemingly curing the boy of hemophilia. Rasputin may have merely succeeded in calming the young prince down, possibly through hypnosis, or that he may have advised against Alexei being administered aspirin, a blood thinner medicine. This action won him the passionate support of Alexandra. However, it's safe to say that none of this explanation include any mystical healing powers. Between 1906 and 1914, various political and journalists used Rasputin's association with the imperial family to undermine the dynasty's credibility and push for reform. Rasputin helped their efforts by claiming to be Tsarina's advisor, an account for his rampant lascivious behavior emerged in the press, compounding contempt among state officials. In truth, however, Rasputin's influence at this time was limited to the health of Alexis. On 12 July 1914, Rasputin was stabbed in the stomach outside his home by a peasant woman named Chinyo Guseva. The 33-year-old Chinyo Guseva was a follower of Ilidior, a former priest and supporter turned enemy of Rasputin, though she claimed to have acted alone. Rasputin opposed Russia's entry into World War I. He claimed that the conflict would be disastrous for the country and have negative consequences for the monarchy. As his advice was not followed, Rasputin insisted on going to the front to bless Russian troops. This was also refused to him as the army commander-in-chief, Grand Duke Nicholas Nikolaevich, vowed to have him hanged if he got anywhere near the front lines or war. As Russia entered World War I, Rasputin predicted that calamity would befall the country. King Nicholas II took command of the Russian army in 1915 and Queen Alexandra took responsibility for domestic policy. Always Rasputin's defender, Queen dismisses ministers who were said to be suspicious of the mad monk or Rasputin. Government officials tried to warn her of Rasputin's undue influence, but the queen continued to defend Rasputin, giving the impression that Rasputin was her closest advisor. Despite Rasputin's self-declared holiness, Rasputin indulged in several activities considered sinful. The mad monk, as he was called by many, was a heavy drinker. It is said that he rarely sobered up, and when he did, it was only to spend time with various ladies of the court. It is even said that he had an affair with the Queen Alexandra. While this is still up to debate, it is certain that Rasputin's influence on the queen was so great that she blindly implemented his advice when her husband left her in the charge of the country in 1916 following his departure to the front. On the night of December 29, 1916, a group of conspirators, including the Tsar's first cousin, Grand Duke Dmitry Palvolik, and Prince Flexis Yusupov, invited Rasputin to Yusupov's palace and fed him wine and cake laced with cyanide. First, Rasputin's killers gave Rasputin food and wine laced with cyanide. When Rasputin failed to react to the poison, they shot him at close range, leaving him for dead. A short time later, however, Rasputin revived and attempted to escape from the palace ground, whereupon his assassins sought him again and beat him viciously. Finally, they bound Rasputin, still miraculously alive, and tossed him into a freezing river. Rasputin died of drowning at the age of 44. His body was recovered several days later, and the two main conspirators, Yusupov and Palvolik, were exiled. Although Rasputin was gone, the last of his prophecies was yet to be unfolded. Shortly before his death, he wrote to King Nicholas to predict that if he were killed by any government officials, the entire imperial family would be killed by the Russian people. His prophecy came true 15 months later, when the Tsar, his wife, and all of their children were murdered during Russian Revolution. Thank you.